with rotoscoping as well. I mean, obviously, this is something that really led you into Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
With
Should we explain what rotoscoping is for
yes,
viewers who
yes,
might not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
know? So it's a technique that actually goes back to the early days of animation. I think Max Fleischer, who created Popeye, patented a rotoscope in 1915. And what it is basically, like you take filmed live action, and it's a device for tracing over individual frames of the film, which you can then reanimate, as a cartoon. And so he didn't do Popeye that way, but Superman. There was an animated Superman series that, if you look at it now, has very realistic
Yeah.
animation, and that's how it was done. Disney animators used rotoscoping for the prince and princess and Snow White. Uh, characters that had like more human proportions. Sometimes they do it for animals, and for me, trying to do the animation for Karateka, it's like I wasn't satisfied with my programmer art. I could draw pretty well, I thought, but when I tried to animate those frames in order, it just the rhythm was off. It looked clunky. So I filmed my mom was taking karate classes and back home, and so I filmed her karate teacher doing the punches and kicks and all the moves I would need for the game in profile. And then later I got my dad to put on my mom's karate gi and run and climb up onto the hood of the family car and do all these
Love it.
other moves that I realized later that I needed. So this was on actually 2 rolls of Super 8 film. Uh, and one of those rolls has been lost, but I've got the other one. And so looking at it, it's like if you play the Super 8 film and then you can recognize the frames of animation from the game. And what I actually
Oh,
did is on a moviola, which is like a 1960s, not even 1970s technology.
yeah.
This is really getting back to the 60s. It's a home movie device that you could use for editing film.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so but what it lets you do is it lets you look at each frame individually. And so I would tape a sheet of tracing paper over the moviola screen and trace the outline of the character, which I would then trace and sort of translate into the Apple II's memory pixel by
Yeah.
pixel. And that was rotoscoping. And when the character got up and running on the Apple II screen in the pixely form, and you could kind of still see you could recognize the movements of the
Yeah.
filmed character, that was rotoscoping.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the I always think about the gravity. Like it's the one thing that in animation that always that it's the one thing that separates whether or not it's like it's realistic or not. It's like the idea of like gravity holding somebody down and like
Yeah.
having that little bump of just seeing a body react to gravity.
Yeah, I mean, good animators, they understand gravity,
Mm.
squash and stretch and
Yeah.
forms and,
The skin.
yeah, the weight and momentum.
Yeah.
But, when you watch a film, it's like all of that is already there.
Yeah.
And so without the years of study and, and practice that Disney animators had, I was able to get a pretty good result just by studying and by tracing the film. Because
Yeah.
there's things that we automatically do. In skipping ahead to Prince of Persia, which was my next game for which I also used rotoscoping, there I filmed my brother,
Mhm.
David, who was 15 years old at the time, using the more advanced technology of VHS as
Yeah.
opposed to Super 8. But there was one thing he did. Because I wanted him to run and turn around and, while running. And in fact, when you do that in real life, you can't just stop and turn on a dime because you've got all this momentum carrying you in the other direction.
Exactly.
So
You
when I
need to
said,
slow
okay, run
down.
as fast as you can in the other direction. Now come and run back the other way.
Yeah.
And so he sort of flailed and his arm went over his head. And in fact, like that sort of thing happens naturally when we're trying to correct our movement
Yeah.
and like regain our balance. But I would never have been able to figure out analytically
No.
that he would do that. But looking at the film, it's so charming and so individual and I kept that in the game. And I think those little touches are what make us connect emotionally to a character because it makes us feel that the character is alive.